Buongiorno, buona domenica. I'm Eszter.
She's
I'm
back.
back in Sicily. Welcome to You, Me, and Sicily. If you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, welcome. I'm Eszter, and this is Alfred, and we come to you every week talking about all things Sicilian. And guess what I did today? 3 hours ago, I landed in Sicily. It was my first trip back to the United States of America since May. I think it was April of 2019. And yes, things have changed.
Well,
Things
the
have
people are
certainly
dying to know is
changed.
how was the flight?
And so the flight over there, let me just tell you, let's start out with that, was very smooth. When I arrived to the United States, they did not ask me for a negative test. They did not ask me for my vaccine, nothing. The man at security said to me, all you need, ma'am, is your good old United States passport. So that was going over there. Coming back here, there were a few more things that we had to do. And I flew KLM, which partnered up with Delta. First thing the guy said to me, do you have proof of either vaccination, a negative test within 48 hours, or a test that you have developed the antibodies? And of course, I had that. I also had what's called a travel locator. You need a travel locator when entering Europe. And that's basically a form you can find on the EU's website, other websites, that you fill out basically saying where you're coming from, where you can be reached, your flight number. It's really a way of tracking people and where they're going. And then, we've been talking so much about the green certificate. No one asked for the green certificate. The guy in Boston didn't even know about the green pass, and this is traveling to Italy. He had no clue about it. So then I arrived to Sicily, and I did have to have immediately a COVID test, and of course, it came back negative. So those are the things that I had to deal with. The COVID test was free. The COVID test took 15 minutes, and it was easy to do. So that was my experience. And I have to tell you guys that the crew members on board all of the flights were super helpful. Obviously, there's a lot of angst around this. Alfred, the people in front of me when I was in Boston checking in to the KLM flight, they didn't have the papers. They didn't have a certificate, nothing. I was going like, didn't you research this? I mean, this is like to travel first time. But I'm not sure how they ended up solving that problem, but they were actually turned away. So you need a travel locator, and you also need your either negative vaccination or you need show that you had a test. So that's my experience.
I'll tell you, some people just amaze me. They're completely unprepared. Esther was over-prepared.
I was over prepared.
She came in and out. There was no problem. I want to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Was the flight over here full?
Good question now. So the flight from Boston to Amsterdam, KLM, was probably half full, I would say. The flight from Amsterdam to Catania, also half full. But friends, keep in mind, it's Ferragosto. If you're watching this live or on the replay, we're taping this on August 15th, which is one of the biggest holidays in Italy. So by today, if people have gone somewhere, they've already gone. They've already arrived to their destination. Of course, Sicily, one of the biggest destinations. We've got a lot of tourists on the ground. And in fact, when I landed, I asked some of the personnel if they've seen the traffic and how the traffic has been. And they said last week was bombed. I mean, lots of tourists coming from all over Italy. So that was my experience. All in all, it was a smooth trip. Obviously I kept my mask on the whole time. A couple of people said, they were taking it off when they were drinking, but immediately they put it back on. So that was my experience.
Yeah. Even when I was waiting for Esther, and everybody, first of all, when you wait, you can't even go into the terminal. You literally have to wait outside the terminal. So I'm waiting outside. I didn't count one person who didn't have a mask on.
Yeah.
I was going to take pictures. Everybody had a mask on, and everybody was social distancing from each other.
Well, it's mandatory, especially inside the airport. But I was really amazed.
Yeah.
I have to tell you this one other story. So I was flying, and I was talking to some friends that were Sicilians returning from Hong Kong visiting family. So that was
Good
very
Lord.
interesting. It was their first visit back in over 2 years. And he was on my flight. So obviously, because coming from outside of Italy, you have to get tested. So he said to me, he was there with his wife and his 2 kids. He said, "Oh, well, this is Sicily. You know how it goes." And he walked away and didn't get tested. 5 minutes later, he comes back in with his family and he said, "I got stopped." And they looked at his where he came from and they said, "Go back. You need to get tested." So you have to keep this test for about 10 days. Who knows?
As evidence.
As evidence, it's stamped by the doctor. It literally took 15 minutes. So
You know,
smooth.
Esther, that guy's an idiot, and he's basically a symptom of what's wrong with Sicilian people on a whole variety of levels. But right now, all the cards are on the table, okay?
Yeah.
And the government realizes this, okay? Right now, the numbers of hospitalizations have been going up. Am I correct in saying that? And
Unfortunately,
they're doing
you're right.
everything they can to put the clamps down. And I happen to agree with them.
Yeah.
Every day in the newspapers, they've been busting beach party clubs, weddings, you name it. And they've been giving hefty fines if people are not abiding by the rules and not abiding by the regulations. And by hefty fines, I mean any place from 400 euro to 3,000 euro for the commercial establishment. Plus, they get shut down for 5 days. All right. So they're not fooling around. Okay. They want to assure that when people come to Sicily, that it's going to be safe environment for them. Now, who's got to come in line are the frickin' Sicilians. Okay. And the guy that she's just talking about is a symptom, a cultural symptom of what is wrong. And I'm going to go into that later on with the Sicilian people. I mean, right now, about 60% of vaccinated.
No, Alfred, it's a little bit in Sicily. It's a little bit less. It's a little bit less.
Okay.
And here's the unfortunate. If you're finished, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Here's the unfortunate situation that the numbers in Sicily are going up. Unfortunately, of course, they're testing everyone coming in, so that's also an issue. But the other issue is that Sicily is one of the last regions in Italy for vaccinations. So that's a problem. And Nello Musumeci, the president of the region, has been addressing this. And now he has this new ordinance out, effective August 16th, where he's requiring the municipalities to give a number of how many people are vaccinated. And if it's below 60, he wants areas centrally located within the community to administer vaccinations until what he wants to reach is 70% for each community.
You know, not only that, but if you're not vaccinated, you cannot go into a public building right now. That's a new
Right.
thing. Okay.
That's a new
So
thing.
if you
You're
want
right.
to go, if you want to go and get your, say, resident certificate, unless they do it remotely, you're out of luck unless you get vaccinated.
Well,
So
also
they're
a
pulling
negative
stuff-
test. Also a negative test is okay.
Or a negative test. So they're doing things they're ratcheting it up far more than in the United States. Okay. I mean, they really are ratcheting up.
They
Now,
should.
who's got to go along with it? Are the people. I mean, if the mandate is you have to wear a mask when there's a lot of people, well, you have to wear a mask when there's a lot of people. Now, the other last thing I want to say, because I don't really want to talk about COVID, we have so many other things to talk about, is that there's 1.5 million extra people in Sicily right now as I'm speaking to you, 1.5 million, okay? So naturally, with 1.5 million people, the amount of COVID that is either coming in from different parts of Italy or coming in from different
All
parts
over
of
the
the
world.
EU is going up. Now, what's not going up and what's relatively stable is the deaths, okay?
Correct.
The deaths are not high, and those who are getting COVID, over 90% who are getting COVID, I think it's even higher, right?
Yes, it's higher, but
Are unvaccinated.
you're on point.
Are unvaccinated. So guess what? If you're coming here as a tourist and you're vaccinated, I mean, unless you stick your head in a bucket of COVID, you should be okay. Okay?
Oh my
I
God,
don't
I've missed this. I've missed this humor.
Well,
Hey, Alfred, it's nice being back here with you, by the way. Back in our usual set of you, me, and Sissel. We've got lots of people here welcoming asked me back.
Before
Thank
you
you
do that,
so much. I'm
I
not
have to
sa-
make a shout out.
Yes.
As you see, I'm wearing this rather debonair and suave and sophisticated hat. And I know for a fact I am the only person in Sicily that has this hat. Look at this.
Love it.
It's a Boston Bruin hat. Compliments of attorney Paula Magliano, former student, great lawyer. And for those of you who go to the Bruins game, she's the one that's always festooned with Magliano was name, with Boston Bruins regalia, sweatshirts, you name it, and they always put her on the big jumbotron board. There's no bigger Bruins fan than Paula. Okay, I want to thank Paula for the hat. I promised her that if she sent me one, I'll wear it. And
I love it.
I'm gonna make you the same promise too.
I love
If you
it.
send me a hat and I like it, I'm gonna wear it.
I
But
love
this
it.
one over here, I really like. I know I'm the only person in Sicily that has this.
Now, I just want to mention, because someone asked about the fires, which have been ongoing. It is a huge problem. It continues to go on. They're battling it. And yes, there's been red alerts for the province of Catania and Palermo for heat and fires. So I have to tell you guys, when I was flying over Sicily, it looked yellower than usual. It definitely looked
Ugh.
drier. You know, when you fly over the plains, it's usually, you know, a brownish yellow, but it definitely looked drier than usual.
Of course,
So,
it's drier. It's like we haven't had any rain, and the weather forecast till the end of the month is not that promising. There's no rain on the horizon up until the 28th. If you look at the extended forecast, which
Yeah.
I did, it's still going to be hot and humid, hot, 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 and by the time and hot means that idiots, because a lot of this stuff that's happening right now is from criminals. Right? Criminals are setting these fires.
Yeah.
And it's not criminals that just want to have a couple beers and go out. They're criminals. They could be your next door neighbor who has his eye on your land that's just and wants to make it for grazing area for his livestock. Okay. They're idiots. Okay. There's a lot of idiots in Sicily. They're stupid people in Sicily. That, for example, I'm going to give you another quick example. Last night, my neighbor right across the way, she lives in a condo, okay, and on her deck, I see this roaring fire. Okay? And there's trees and shrubs all over the place. She decided her and her family were going to have a cookout with sausage because it's Ferragosto. And I'm telling you, I watched that flame for a good 45 minutes, Eszter, and that flame was like 2 feet above the grill.
Yeah.
I'm saying to myself, how the hell should I get a go? I want to get. That's the other thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get a go bag ready just in case.
Speaking of Ferragosto and heat, lots of ordinances in Palermo and Catania, no bonfires. It's usual to have
Right.
a bonfire on the beach or
Yeah,
a
you kidding me?
picnic.
That's traditional.
They're banned. That's
Feast of
great.
the Assumption.
Feast of the Assumption today.
Traditional to have bonfires. I mean, and fireworks too. Although they did have fireworks here last night.
Oh,
They had
hopefully they'll have
fireworks,
them again for me today. James wants to know, he's going to explore Sicily in September. Do you have any tips for getting around the island without a car? I will land in Palermo. Alfred, want to go first, and then I'll add to that?
Go. I mean, if you're going to Palermo and without a car, then you're going to be basically dependent on either public transportation, I'm assuming. Am I
Right,
correct in saying
of
so?
course.
So the train system is wonderful. Okay, the train system, you could take the train system and literally circumnavigate all the island of Sicily. They're safe, they're clean, they have internet. Eszter loves right, Mike?
Oh, I love the train
And the
station.
buses are very good as well. Okay, you have trains and buses. When you get into the innards, the hinterlands, that's where the problems may start, because the transportation, obviously, in the small little towns and communities are not like they are in the urban areas. But just around Palermo, I would go from Palermo all the way down to Shaka, which is on the west coast. There's plenty to see there. Trapani, Shaka, you name it. Mondello.
You can just take a train.
Take a train.
Yeah, and if you're in center of Palermo, it's also a really great walking area as well. Tony wants to know, let's see, can I ask where you video? Are you on a patio outside or are you in your home? Just curious. Love your videos. Thank you. Let me show you. Yes, it is our patio,
Terrace.
our
Good
terrace.
height, good height.
There you go. Campomolini. What's the matter? Campomolini. So there you go. That's our little
Yeah, it's a.
talus.
We've been here. I've been here for, I don't know. This is my 9th year in this location here, and I like it because it's a beautiful view of the Ionian Sea. And thank God, with this heat wave, there's been a beautiful breeze coming off the Ionian Sea, which really is good. You know, we have a AC, but we don't. You can't AC the whole house because in Sicily you're on a restriction as to how many watts each household can use. Can you imagine that? So if you have on two of them, it may blow your circuits if you're using other things. Whoops. And they even do the same thing with heat. You're not supposed to have the heat on after May 15th until November. You can't put the heat on. They'll fine you if they'll do it.
Vince wants to know, Al, any recommendations in Boston for authentic Sicilian food? Thanks.
Yeah, if you like fish, there's the Daily Catch in the North End. There's a place in Amesbury, Massachusetts called Cafe Molise, Moliase. It's a terrific place. In Joseph Trattoria in Haverhill, Massachusetts, just won an award, by the way, for one of the greatest places over there. And also a new place opened up called Carmine's. My friend John Luca opened up. So, but the North End in Boston, typically they're like really overloaded all the time in the summertime. So, but there are some very good places.
What about Luna Rosa in Andover? Luna Rosa in my town,
yeah.
in Andover. It's a great place. He's Sicilian. So Jim says, might want to recommend a local train around Etna if you're in the eastern side of the island.
Yeah, there is one, Jim. There's one that circumnavigates. Yeah, Carmen, we can't do anything right now about the internet, because here's what the story is. You've got an extra 1.5 million people pulling right now, and everybody's on the beach. Right now, everybody's on the beach. So if there is a disruption today, we have to deal with it. We're going to do the best we can. We wanted to talk about Eszter's trip, which we got in. If we have to cut it down short, we will, but there's a couple other things I want to talk about. If we have to cut it short, we'll have to cut it short today.
Okay.
There's nothing we can do.
You guys watching us? La Rosa.
La Rosa in Andover is
I said
good.
Luna Rosa. It's La Rosa.
La Rosa, yeah.
Listen, if you guys are let me know how the reception is now. It looks like it cleared up a little bit. So go ahead, Al.
True or false? Can you buy a house, car, etc. in Sicily? Here's a story. You can buy a house, no problem. If you buy a car, you have to have a license, an Italian license. Okay. If you can't drive the car without an Italian license, it's very, very difficult to get an Italian license. You have to pass a test. And don't buy the car unless you have the license, because they're going to put you on a horsepower restriction, despite the fact that you've driven 50 years. What's my opinion? Lease a car. Lease a car for the first few years you're here. Okay? Go to a rent-a-wreck place like I do. Rent-a-wreck. I mean, that's just like a name, right? It is, right? Rent-a-wreck. And you can get a car cheap. It's registered. It's insured.
Good idea. All right.
That's what you should do.
Eszter, at any point were you asked to provide results of a negative test when you left the U.S.? Very difficult to get an appointment for rapid tests in the States right now. So,
No.
Mike, I spoke about this earlier. I got vaccinated, so all I had to do is show proof of my vaccination. You have to show a test within 48 hours. Not sure. I think Boston Logan has some kind of testing, but not sure about that. And I think you're flying out of California. So I would check with your airport. The other thing, you have to show that as you walk in. And I also mentioned the travel locator. So those are two important things.
All right. Could I bring up another subject?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a couple of subjects I want to bring to. Because Eszter came back with a suitcase of stuff and a lot of presents for me, and I was really thankful for a lot of presents. We only grabbed a couple of them. So the hat was one of them, I promised Paula. I also want to do a shout out to the Dean of Massachusetts School of Law, who sent me a bunch of Massachusetts School of Law masks.
Whoops, look at that.
about a half a dozen of them.
Did you just
I
see
was a
that?
founding trustee of the law school, and Mike Coyne is the dean. Michael Coyne is the dean. He's done a great job with that law school. What's the matter?
You didn't see that. My dress went down.
Did you show a
A
little bit of
blooper, a
cleavage?
blooper, little
Oh my
blooper.
God! And the other thing,
Welcome
which is,
to live TV, live
and-
YouTube.
and the other thing that was really good, I've talked about Mike Santo before, Attorney Michael Santo from New York. He's a real good friend of mine, probably one of the best lawyers in the whole state of New York. Okay, he was very active and involved in pressing New Orleans to issue an apology for the lynching of 11 Sicilian immigrants back at the end of the 19th century. And it made all the press and paper. Well, Mike sent me, you could see this. This is
Beautiful.
This is the official apology that the mayor of New York sent on behalf of New Orleans, Louisiana, apologizing to the, basically for the lynching, of course. And I think it's great. I think Mike Santos is a hero. He's also very involved in guys like Bob DeBassi, another good friend of ours, in the anti-Christopher Columbus stuff. These guys were the ones that able to save Columbus Day and these statues and stuff like that, because being an Italian has been under siege in the United States of America. And a lot of guys, a lot of good friends of mine have kind of like picked up the gauntlet and now are very active. So Mike Santos, a big tip. Yeah, Mike's he's a great guy. Bob DeBasio is a great guy. There's a lot of great guys. The guy from a pal from the Italian American Museum, Joe Celsa, Dr. Joseph Celsa. He's another great guy.
Lots of
Gaetano Cipolla from Abba Secula. I can go on and on. All these guys are personal friends of mine, and they are doing a heck of a job fending off those who, for one reason or another, have a burr in their saddle against Italians and more specifically Sicilian Americans. So keep up the fight, guys. I'm with you 100% from here.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And Charlie says, yes, que beda. That was a horrible event in our country's history. Thank you, El and all. Yeah, it's good to see that type of stuff happening, for sure. So let me just say a couple of things. That it was so nice to see some friends, and Maria, I think, is here. Vivian, they have our T-shirts that we have for sale. If you guys don't know this, we have T-shirts, hat, long sleeve shirts, polos, all You, Me, and Sicily products. And if you're interested, just make sure you message us. It's also on our Facebook, and I will put a link on our YouTube.
Message Eszter. She's the one that's handling that. I'm handling the logistics of getting them shipped out. So I'll tell you what, the men's polo shirts have been flying, and also the men's long sleeve T-shirts have been flying, and the ladies' V-neck T-shirts, because I decided I didn't want to get silkscreen on that, so we got embroidery. So they're nice and embroidered. Even the hats are embroidered.
High quality.
High quality, and the prices, which aren't too bad, include the shipping. Okay, so and it also helps You, Me, and Sicily out to get the word out. You'll be surprised. Somebody puts a picture of you in a T-shirt or a hat online, and other people say, "Hey, what's that all about?" And
helps to get the word out.
Yeah.
Alfred, look at this. Salvatore Lazara, the dynamic duo are back together and love your chats and videos. You just returned today and are having a live chat.
Right.
That's dedication. Thank you. Literally, I landed how many hours? 3 hours ago. 3 hours ago.
She was more.
I was like, oh, morta, and it's hot.
I was worried about her about 10 minutes ago, but then as soon as the bell rang 5 minutes off, it's like someone gave her a shot of adrenaline.
Ooh.
And that, she's okay. She did this once before in Haiti when the first earthquake hit Haiti. She was a senior executive producer in North Carolina for a PBS station over there. And she flew out over there, landed to Haiti, did a piece that was later nominated for an Emmy. She doesn't say stuff like this, and then she flew back the next day. So she was, she's used to this stuff.
But, and to be quite honest with you, my flight, I have to be honest with you guys. I had a little bit of anxiety going into the flight. I didn't know I've read about it. I've obviously been to all the website, the European website, the Italian website. So I was prepared, but you never know, right? You never know what's going to happen. So I did want to share this information so you guys will have it in case you're coming to Italy, in case you're coming to the EU. So
to make a long story short, okay, boiling it down to one sentence, and I'll tell you a story about that in 1 second. If you're coming from the States and you're landing in Italy and you're coming to Sicily, you're going to have to take a tampon test. What do you call it? What is those things called?
They're called tamponi in Italian.
Tamponis.
They're not in English.
They stick
They're
something
called
up your nose.
tamponi. We're like, when all of this happened, remember, we're like tamponi.
Whether you want it or not, if you want to come to Italy, right now, according to what the regulations are, you're going to have to take this quick blood test. Okay, it doesn't cost you any money.
No, it's not a blood test. It's that thing that they
stick something up your nose. It looks like a big Q-tip. What I know.
Oh my God, I'm still like, oh,
Did it hurt?
No. Well, it was like, Anthony wants to know, what do you think? Should I get a throwaway phone in Italy when I land, or should I use my phone from the States? My dad said U.S. phones charge roaming charges. What do you guys think? You go first.
I think you ought to get a Go phone over here. Go to either Tray IT or Wind or Telecom Italia or Vodafone. There are 4 different ones, and over here you buy it by the gigs, how many gigs you use. That's what you want to do. She has a different story. She likes, what do you like, Verizon?
Well, wait. So here's my answer to that question, and someone else had asked that many times. If you're staying for a long time, a month, 2 months, 3 months, yes, get one of those throwaway phones. Now, if you're going to be coming here for 10 days, Verizon, for instance, has a $10 a day pass. That's one other, but you have to make sure that you have your phone set to certain settings so they don't overcharge you. So you just have to be mindful. I would say if you're coming short term, get your cell phone service. If you're coming for longer, we've had many people here, get a throwaway phone. Go to Vodafone, go to Tim. Who else is there?
But don't throw it away. The next time you come back,
Exactly.
you just use the phone again.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly.
Mark Cahill is here. Good to see him. He's an author. Did the book arrive with Eszter? Mary Sicily, Sicilian Culture in America. Yes, it did. But Mark, like I said, I just landed 3 hours ago. I barely had time to go to the bathroom, put my face on, open my suitcase to let it air out. But it did arrive. And thank you for that beautiful book, because it has Mark has collected certain authors from all over, and one of the excerpts is from you. Mark, do me a favor.
The first chapter.
Send a
I think
link.
mine's the first chapter. Send us a link. We'll try to sell it.
Send a link.
A lot of people read books around here. I'll tell you that much.
Someone just got your 3 books, so that's wonderful.
All right, can I talk about another subject?
Next,
go ahead. I want to talk about a very important subject. Okay, and I did an investigation on this while she was away. I did an investigation. So let's talk about garbage, okay? Everybody's pissing and moaning about garbage, okay? And everybody's pissing and moaning that it's the problem with the town, the politics. Let me tell you what the story is, okay? The problem is it's the people, okay? I've now come to the conclusion it's the people, and I'm going to tell you why, okay? In Sicily, and let's use Palermo for an example. Everybody's complaining about Palermo, although they picked up over 200 tons of garbage the last week, okay? Because they came to an agreement with the union. But here's what the story is. Everybody pays what they call a TARI, T-A-R-I, which is a garbage bill that you get, roughly $250 a year, or 250 euro a year. And the community picks up your garbage. So in Palermo, and also in Catania, and there's a second problem that's going to happen, only 50% of the people bother to pay the TARI, okay? So guess what? They had to lay off people because that money is the money that is used to pay to pick up the garbage and to pay to send it off island, okay? It's the people. They're not paid. They're not doing their civic responsibility. That's number one. Number two, the suburbanites. Listen to this. Palermo makes you separate the garbage. Plastic here, paper there, refuge here, into different things, and you're supposed to put it into the appropriate bin. The small little towns surrounding Palermo, they don't do that shit. What they do is they put it in their car and they drive it to Palermo and they dump it on the street. They've bagged over 150 people doing that. Now that they get their heads up about it. And then number three are your small little quote unquote businessmen, contractors, do it yourself guys who are taking the commercial stuff when they rip down a wall, for example, and they're throwing it on the streets. So I don't want to hear, I mean, it's also Palermo's fault, the city, but it's the cultural, I don't know what it is. It's lack of civic responsibility in Palermo, and it's lack of civic responsibility in Catania. That's directly the reason. Now, listen to this. Now, we're talking about the TARI, T-A-R-I. How about this? We know that certain areas of Catania are crime-ridden, okay? Crime-ridden, okay? So now, if you're in the United States and you know that a city is crime-ridden, what do? Well, you find out what areas it is, and what do? You get more cops. Now, Catania used to have on their brigade of police 800 police. You know how many they have now to police the whole city? 300. Why? Okay. In Catania, when you get a ticket, a parking ticket, that money was isolated to pay the cops. Okay. Now, out of the 20 million euro that was, these guys are doing their job, out of the 20 million euro that was processed in tickets last year, they were only able to collect 4 million out of 20 million. And out of the 4 million, 2 million went to the mailing to mail to the people who haven't paid. Why? Because a lot of these cars are untraceable. But what does it go back to? It goes back to the Sicilian person himself, lack of being a good citizen. So that's what the problem is.
Let me just
I've been blasting people. I've been blasting Sicilians. And then finally, one other thing, Eszter.
Well,
these fires. Wait a minute.
Wait. Let me add to that a little bit. I just want to remind you, Alfred, that they didn't have this rule or law in place up until about 4 or 5 years ago.
What?
The recycling. There was no recycling. There was no separating plastics. And when I first came here 7 years ago, there was no recycling, Alfred. It was like shot, a little bit here.
It has been well
1 second.
Documented and well. Listen,
1 second.
if you're a citizen of a town,
wait a second.
You pay your taxes.
Right. But then remember,
and then if they say you have to separate your garbage,
but Alfred, that didn't start until 7 years ago.
Well, garbage has been racking up.
6 years ago.
Right.
They didn't start that separation. You remember, all of a sudden we have all these new rules coming down. You have the recycling, you have the food stuff, you have the bottles one day, you have the paper another day, and they put up a little calendar of what day things are being picked up. But I'm going to say to you, Alfred, that this is basically a new thing here in Sicily, and it takes a little bit of time for people to change it. They've gone this long without separate. We're back.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So wait a minute. I want to finish this, okay?
Okay. But you wanted to talk about the fire.
No, wait a minute, okay? I want to quickly talk about the fire because these three things are going to be a subject of future chats. I've invited Rosario Ferragosto, Professor Ferracci, on kind of take these things one by one, okay? He happens to agree with me. But let's talk about all these fires that are around here. Mm-hmm. I told you that most of them are started by criminals. Did I not say that?
It's 100% true.
Now, 30 years ago, they authorized 1,300 forest rangers. 1,300. Listen to me, okay? 30 years ago. Today, we have 380 for all of Sicily. Why? Because as fire rangers retired, they were not fulfilled because of the government, the politicians didn't fund those positions. So there are now only 380 forest rangers for all of Sicily. So when a fire starts, guess what? It's not being handled properly.
Yeah.
When there is no cleaning of the underbrush, right? Now, these moron politicians, they know that. Okay, why don't they do something about it? Because this isn't the first time that they've had fires. I'm curious, why don't they do anything?
Agree.
So be every one of these. Listen, I'm going to give you a story that an old timer taught me a long time ago, and I've taught this to over 8,000 lawyers that I've trained. A guy from a city slicker from New York City went to Vermont for a weekend, and he was walking on a lonely country road. And what did he see on this lonely country road? He saw an old farmer, and he saw a mule, and the mule was sitting down in the middle of the road. So the city slicker says, "Hey, your mule's laying down. How are you going to get him up?" And the old timer says, "Well, you got to speak to him nicely." He says, "Watch, I'll show you." So he looked around, and he got a big stick, and he went up to that mule, and he smacked that mule right on the head. So the mule shakes his head, gets up, and walks off the road. So the old timer is like, the city slicker is like, "Wait a minute, you just told me you had to speak nice to him, and here it is, you whacked him in the head with a big stick. What's up with that?" And the old timer said, well, first you have to get his attention, okay? That's what the problem is in Sicily. They're not getting the attention of the citizens, whether it's for the garbage, whether it's for these criminals starting the fires, whatever it is. They have to come down with the fires of hell on these people and not only find them, and if they don't find them, physically cart them off to jail, for Christ's sake. Or else this place is going to go to a shithole in 10 years, okay? So that's what it is. You talk to me about this. I'm a Sicilian. I'm 100% Sicilian. I could talk about my people, but the biggest complainers, the biggest bitches, and the biggest moaners, all right, and I see it every day in the newspapers, are the citizens themselves. Honestly, they are. If you got 100 Sicilians in a room, you're going to have 100 different opinions about stuff. But guess what? Statistically, only half of them are paying that tariff. Only half of them are paying those taxes. So that's where the problem lies. It wouldn't go on in the States like that. Honestly, it wouldn't. It would not go on in the States like that. They would have boots all over the place. They'd be dragging cars away. Sometimes, you need that. You need to get their attention. So I'm not going to pontificate anymore for today. That's all I wanted to say. Sorry.
I need to go to bed. Just kidding.
No, it really
the
irritates
rubbish collecting
me.
right to
It
home
really
door.
irritates me.
It could work. Nevertheless, I think the council should keep on even the traditional. That's Silvio is here, and he wanted to know also what you're drinking. Earlier, he wanted to know.
Silvio, I'm not drinking alcohol.
No, you tell him what you're drinking.
I believe that this stuff, Schweppes, Zero, in the hot weather, the quinine, is really good. Okay, it just quenches my thirst. And
so Vince says exactly. It's my point. It takes time for people to be educated about recycling, etc. It wasn't overnight here in the States for the people, and that was my point.
So who do you start with? The schools. Start in the schools,
excuse me. As I recall, you got busted a few times throwing out trash.
I did. I got busted.
Okay,
busted.
so
I got busted. Not for doing anything illegal.
For the trash.
I got a 50-euro fine because I put trash in a trash bucket, and the proper one, but you're only supposed to do it after 4 p.m. at night. I had done it at 3 o'clock, and they surrounded they surrounded my car. I felt like a criminal. But guess what? Since then, I've never done that. I've never done that again.
You learned your lesson.
I learned that, and I paid my fine.
That's correct about the firefighters. The area around Castellammare del Golfo, my ancestral hometown, is on fire. The citizens are pissed off at the city council for not doing anything. They're not paying, and even some of the firefighters were complaining about not getting paid for last year. So it is a huge problem for sure.
It's a huge problem. Okay, it's a huge problem, but don't tell me the Sicilians don't have any money. I don't want to hear about the taxes either, okay? because most of the people in Sicily work in the black. I mean, honestly, please, okay? If you need €1,000 real quick, most of the time they have it in their pocket, okay? I have to be honest with you, okay? So, but come on, will you do at least satisfy your civic responsibility?
Nancy, there's no way, no
What?
way. Alfred, you should run for something there and
No.
start cleaning
I'll
up
end
that.
up, you know why? Because I'll end up with a bullet in my head. I mean, honestly, here's the other thing about cops, okay? Stop and think about it. If there aren't any cops in Catania, who's benefiting from that? Answer, the drug dealers and criminals, because there are less cops around there, right? So you think that they're pushing to get the parking tickets, money, the revenue picked up? No, every city's like that. I mean, that's what happens, okay? But it has to be culturally indoctrinated into the people starting in elementary school.
Exactly
Respect for the environment.
Which they are, Alfred,
I hope so.
which they are.
I hope so. That's if they go to school. That's if they go to school, because in the hinterlands they don't go to school. They're farming. Okay, you think it's a problem? Okay, they're out with their mother and their father working the farms.
Of
If they
course,
have a
they
high
have
school,
to.
if they're
Family business.
period. So they have no education.
Frank wants to know if you guys are having a candle-lit romantic dinner tonight. I'm exhausted. I'm going to have something and go straight to bed. Now, listen, Dennis says that 6 years is plenty of time to adjust to new rules, new excuses. I agree with you 100%.
Thank you, Dennis.
Excuse me, but it's been more like I think 2016, if I think long and hard. It was around, 2016 that we started going into these. There's no excuses. You're absolutely right. And even now with all these rules and regulations, I go down to throw out the garbage, and in the paper container, there's stuff that's plastic. So
wait a minute, Esther, let me ask you this question. Okay,
Yeah.
So now we have a mask mandate here. So are you telling me that I should use the excuse if I get caught with no mask? Well, it's something new. It only
I
happened
didn't
2
say-
years ago.
but
I'm in the
sweetie pie,
process of getting used to it.
Alfred, I never said that. I'm
No.
just explaining that it is a basically new rule. Julie, nice to see you over here. And just before I forget,
Hi, Julie.
welcome to all our YouTube, our Facebook watchers. And if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button on YouTube or on Facebook, and also share it with a friend. We appreciate you guys.
It's not
being here.
only, somebody's just said, I see the mafia starts a fire. It's not the mafia. It's Joe Schmo, the next door neighbor. Okay, it's not the mafia. What the mafia does is they do extortion. They get what they call the PIZZO, P-I-Z-Z-O. They take protection money from established businesses, okay? And sometimes they get the union involved, and that's where the problem is. Like recently, a big supermarket over here got busted, a national supermarket, because four of their higher echelon administrators, two of them being the unionists, were taking money from the people that was working for them. So they would hire somebody for €1,500 a month, and they would say, okay, you got to get €1,500 a month. Come payday, you have to kick back to us €300. So these poor workers who were desperate for jobs, that's what they were doing. So they confiscated from these four bums, and that's what they are, bums, huh? They're two big hoods, right? They confiscated and segregated over €5 million because it's been going on for the last 4 or 5 years. Now, you think that that's the only place that this is happening? It's happening nationwide. So the level of embedded
You're full of
criminality
today.
What?
Full
It's
of
like,
piss and
come on. I mean, that's what the
Wait,
story is.
am I bringing this side of you out again?
Listen, it's the same thing in the United States
I haven't
of America.
seen this side
Come
of
on,
you
listen,
in a long time.
Look, I'm a city kid. See, here's the difference over here. Over here, it's all nickels and dimes. It's hundreds, 50s, a couple of thousand here and there. In the United States of America, it's thousands, 10,000s, hundreds of thousands of dollars. The swindling over there is far bigger than the swindling is over here. But it could be cleaned up if someone has what they call in English the testicular fortitude to want to do it. The cultural testicular fortitude.
You're in rare form today.
I'm not.
Is this my welcome back Is this my
My
welcome back?
Bruins hat. I have my
No, is
Bruins
this my
hat.
welcome back
Oh, no.
mode?
You know what it
Okay.
is? I have this new watch
Michelle
from my
wants
son
to know-
Matthew.
Michelle
a Navy SEAL watch.
wants to know what percentage of Sicilian kids are in school. I will find out that information because I have a number of friends who are in the school system and also are teachers, and that's a really, really good question. Yeah, that's a nice little watch. I still haven't even unpacked all
What's
of
it
your other
called?
gifts. What else did I bring you? I brought you some other gifts.
Lexi Knox watch made for the Navy SEALs. Guess what, Esther?
Your Bruins hat is criminals signed a Canadian fan.
My watch, right? If I want to go diving with you, you and I can go skin diving up to 200 meters deep.
Yeah.
Want to go skin diving 200 meters deep?
All right. Sylvia asked, yeah, heard the mafia. Okay, we've addressed that before. All right. The other thing I wanted to ask you guys, if you saw that 1-minute video that I posted, I tried to post it as a short, but it posted as a regular video on YouTube, and basically just gave you a 58-second highlight from all of Sicily, and I'll post that into the video notes. That note, I'm getting a little bit hungry and tired, and we are going to wrap this up now.
Wait a minute, I'm not done yet.
And
My fans demand that they hear me pontificate
see
some more.
everyone on Wednesday. Thank you for watching.
I'm lucky we got this far, believe me.
No kidding. I was like, okay, I got to put.
Anyways,
I put it on, and here we are.
To Esther.
Thank you for everyone for watching this. Make sure you hit the like on YouTube, on Facebook. What were you going to say?
I was going to say a big thank you to Esther, because the news reporter in her was like, she dragged her ass up off the ground to let you people know what's going on. Okay. I mean, I'm in all seriousness now. I think it's important that, this is free. This is a chat. If you want to help her out, there's a button there, help us out. There's a button there for $1.99 a month. What is that thing called?
It says join next to the subscribe on YouTube.
For a cup of coffee, you could help us pay our expenses. And by the way, the reason that we're even getting through in the first place, despite the fact that there's no internet because the internet highway is so jammed, is because thanks to your generosity, we bought a new computer, and it's being powered by the RAM on this new computer. So thanks to you, okay? And thanks to Paula, too. Paula Mattiliano. Look at that hat. Bruins hat. Sorry, Canadian fans.
C'est la vie.
Love you.
Arrivederci.
Ciao.
See you on another video of You, Me, and Sicily. Ciao.